Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo. I'm your host and keeper of the Hairy Channel, and with me tonight are minions SkepTock.
Howdy ho, y'all.
DrFunctional.
Hi.
And Prospero.
Hello.
How are you, Prospero?
I am well, thank you. How are you?
I'm okay. You enjoying the new house, the clubhouse, the giant pictures of Lemonade Larry, all the
There's
folks.
no Lemonade Larry.
There's no Lemonade Larry.
These people are boozers, I swear to God.
Well, I told you what
there's-
Lemonade Larry was. That was the thing that my grandparents and their alky old friends, when they were old and retired, they would fill up like a big thermos, one of those big thermos cooler things full of like instant lemonade and vodka, and they would just call it Lemonade Larry. Yeah. And they'd never check them. They'd go to the concerts and things and watch the show and just get all liquored up on Lemonade Larry.
Well, that's people pretty much drink
YOLO.
open here. yeah. Well, there is that. But it's once the weather gets a little bit more spring-like, be out and about a bit more. Looking forward to that. It's been weird. We're getting ready to finally, I believe, begin spring after a cold day tomorrow. We're not even supposed to reach 50, which I know functional is like, haha, fuck you. But the for us, the average highs are at least 60.
Wasn't the equinox sometime in the next few days anyway? I mean, it actually should not just be figuratively, but actually spring.
20th or the 21st, yeah. Well, yes, when it becomes astrological spring. Yeah. Astronomical spring.
Yeah, I knew what you meant.
As opposed to meteorological spring, which actually starts March 1st. But, it's one interesting thing here is because the density of trees is not as great as it was at our other house. My car is not yet coated with pollen. The blooming trees, the fruiting trees have been blossoming in Richmond, but we haven't really gotten much other leaf push. But it's just that it's not like living in the forest that I lived in before. So I'm hoping to garner a little benefit from that, maybe.
Yeah, well, the pollen that you see, like from pine trees and things, is not the pollen that generally makes you ill, but it may come at the same time, right? So it's a pretty good indicator of how much fun you're in for.
I don't have any allergies per se. It's just that around Richmond, Richmond's usually on a list of cities that are pretty bad for pollen. Yeah. And we have a lot of oak trees, and a fair number of pines out here. They whacked down a bunch of them, but I got to be a happy homeowner ambassador this week at a luncheon for some prospective residents and a couple people who had already bought, just to kind of be there and answer questions about what it's like living here and those kinds of things.
Make sure none of the wrong sorts of people are trying to move into your neighborhood.
Oh, yes.
Be careful or we'll be paying people off for 250 years.
Well, really, Michael Cohen's not my lawyer.
Housing discrimination.
I think I'm okay.
Okay.
I think you probably are.
Yeah, I thought we needed a little foreshadowing.
Let's see, we've got people in the chat. Let's see, Raymond Lewis, Green Badger Outdoor, Hate Camel.
Hey, people.
See, Rotten Corpse. What's up, folks?
Hey.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's in California, we really only have 2 seasons. I've joked about this before. We have summer, which is like 8-9 months out of the year. And then we have what I call sprawl, which is this fall to spring period where you occasionally have things that look kind of like winter, but aren't really winter.
I mean, we
really don't. Well, yeah, fire season is not really a meteorological season. It's more of an astrological season.
I was going to say it.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
sounds
good
like
times.
hell on earth to me.
Or did you mean astrological?
Astrological. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
yeah, it's good times. Hey, functional.
once-
Oh, sorry.
Hi.
You were going to say
No,
something, Prospero?
all I was going to say is all the tree scientists report that the lodgepole pine must reproduce under fire conditions.
Ah, okay. Well, yeah. Smoky
Just-
bear.
Cut all your
pollen
damn lodgepole pines down, and you won't have fire season.
You need your beetle kill pine. That's so that hipsters can decorate their tiny homes. Hi, functional.
All that pollen is tree spunk. They are literally raping us.
Yeah,
Yes, that's rude.
I say burn them all down.
yeah.
Hi. Sorry, I'm a little. I fell to the itis today. I had this, and I shared it with the class already, but I'll let chat know. I had this this random craving just for apple pie. And of course, I'm lazy and I'm a cripple, so I didn't want to go to the store. And it's even then, it would be store bought, even though it's Chudley's, which we have world famous apple pies here. I decided just to make it from scratch. And so, I hit the kitchen and be like, okay, I got enough stuff to make pie. Made apple pie, ate half an apple pie and a couple cups of coffee and passed right the frick out.
Yeah.
I bet you did.
Because the itis just, bam, just like a wall. Like, I'm like, hey, I'm feeling okay. I'm not feeling too sleepy. 2 cups of coffee. It's I don't know if you can hear it, but even though it's -7 or 8 outside and it's like 15 degrees, 16 degrees inside, I'm running the space heater just because it's a bit nippy.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah. It was
but
70.
I was wide awake. I'm like, I can't fall asleep. And then all of a sudden, I wake up like 20 minutes ago going, oh, show.
Sugar
Yeah.
crash.
It's good apple pie, too. Oh, man.
Well, that is good. Yeah, you did screw up though, because you're supposed to do it on 3/14 because that's Pi Day.
Mhm.
So you really do kind of suck for being so late. But better late than never.
I don't live by your rules, Mr. Man.
Yeah, man.
That's right. In Canada, Stan, pi is 3.18. Eh?
Yeah.
Well, we all know Harry's
we took
the
steps,
man.
We fixed it.
I rounded up. What's wrong?
It's like 22/7. No, that's Egyptians. Okay. Anyway. That's
You know
about
what?
the
It was
history.
probably reading an article about Pi Day, and then it was like
How many sided
subliminally-
polygon can we make? How close to pi can we get?
Now I want more pie, but we're doing a show.
Well, pi and is always a fun thing, especially when people talk about history of math. Do you remember Chariots of the Gods, Skep? The movie? Well, the movie version I saw. I didn't read the book because I have things to do. But I saw the movie Chariots of the Gods when I was a little kid. And they do this thing where they show,
Little kid.
like, hey, if you take the shape of a pyramid and then you put a circle around it and do a bunch of math, you ultimately end up to pi. And older Harry came to realize, thinking back, it's like, wait a second, I can draw a circle around almost anything and start doing math and end up with pi. It's the act of drawing the circle. It has nothing to do with the pyramid.
Right. Yeah.
Chariots of the Gods is great film, isn't it? It's just a great film.
It is. It kind of gave me nightmares as a kid, though, because that whole ancient astronaut thing, I mean, it was a little spooky because, I mean, I saw it when I was really little, like 5. And it kind of gave me nightmares a little bit. I didn't like the idea of ancient aliens coming and, like, coming after me and stuff.
My dad really got into that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. He
Mine, too. That's why I saw it when I was 5. He needed to drag somebody off to
say
see it.
Right. Same thing happened to me.
Yeah, I read the
Hey,
book
kid.
and I saw the movie, and probably the only thing that gave me pause were the planes, Nazca planes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought all you have to do is pretty much put a stake in the ground and a piece of string, and you can measure out any form like that. It was like, oh yeah, wait, that's not so magical after all.
Yeah, well, before we start talking about the Masons, let's see.
Now Skep. How is Skep
Hey, Skep,
tonight?
did you have anything else you wanted to say, Skep, before I talk about my stupid day?
I just hello to everybody, and to you guys who come out early in chat. Thank you so much for coming out and hanging with us. It's going to be a fun night tonight.
Well, you asked the question at the beginning, Prospero, how am I? Well, I did something stupid. I didn't realize it was stupid at the time, but in hindsight, it was clearly stupid. There's this water filter, which I really like. And it was on sale or it's like a reverse osmosis thing, sits on the countertop. I've seen it for as little as $300. It's a nice filter. And it makes water, and if you live in a place where the total dissolved solids is like 1 million, it's a lot cheaper than buying water from a machine or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to get one of these things because I knew it was good, and I found one on the interwebs for $63.30. It normally retails for $4.29. Now, I remember thinking to myself, there's a good chance this is a scam, but wouldn't it be amazing if I got the deal of the century if they're just closing this out? Because I know they'd come out with a new model and all that sort of stuff. I'm thinking, oh yeah, this is going to be great, and I'll just stay on top of it and make sure I don't get totally screwed. Well, I was looking at the email message that I finally got from them, which came from like a completely different website. Let me show you the screen here.
I have
Okay,
to see this.
so
See this.
I started pulling stuff out of there and went to scamdetector.com to take a look at this thing.
Oh my God.
And it had one of the lowest scores on the entire website in terms of confidence, 1.6 out of 100. So I sort of, I had already been just a little bit suspicious. So I had already put an alert thing on my credit card so that if anything gets charged to that credit card, it just pings me, on my phone, and it gives me an SMS message. But when I saw this and started looking through how not legit this was, I'm like, oh crap. So I immediately called my credit card company and said, you should just send me a new card. Well, has somebody stolen it? That's debatable. There's about a 97.4% chance that it hasn't been that it has been. I told him the story and said
98.4% chance. Yeah.
Yeah, 98.4. I mean, it's just not good. I said, let's just both do ourselves a favor and just send me a new charge card. Because I thought it was really funny at the time, and then the more I thought about ways I could get screwed by this, the less funny it became.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't think I'm going to get the thing I ordered for $63.30. Now, if I do, going to be steal of the century, but I fully expect to get a brick with a picture of this thing taped to it, or just
right, exactly. You're not
just anything.
Jussie Smollett will show up at your door and go, "Hi,
Lester of Paris model."
Yeah. Well, you guys see this? There were. They actually looked at some old data from 30 years ago and realized that they'd actually. Yeah, they'd actually spotted a live volcano. Now, they theorized that there were live volcanoes on Venus, but nobody had actually observed one. And while they were looking at some old data from 30 years ago, because they essentially, I think it was it Magellan that did multiple passes around Venus doing like a ground imaging radar. And in these 3 passes, they didn't cover the entire planet all the way, but there were sections of it that they covered from 3 different angles. By taking the data that they had, putting it into a computer model, they were able to generate images that when human beings looked at them, they were literally going over these images and said, hey, wait a second, the size of the mouth of that volcano changed between the first pass and the second pass. What the hell are you talking about? It looks like that thing's actually alive.
Wow.
Yeah, so...
That's got to be violent and unpleasant.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Venus is pockmarked with all these old inactive volcanoes, lava flows, etc. It gives us a good idea of, excuse me, gives us a good idea of what Earth may have looked like, 250 billion years ago or something, when the Earth was forming. That these volcanoes are basically, once the seeding of life happens. that this sort of helps to create an atmosphere and spread the material around, like the panspermia material around. It's really interesting stuff because, like, this is information we've had for a while, and they're just now getting to it. It is incredible to find this out.
I think I talked about the magnetic field of Venus not too long ago, and how much of it's being induced by the solar wind.
Yeah.
That was another topic from another show, and I don't have my notes handy on that, but there are interesting things that happen on Venus. But it was generally thought that there might be live volcanoes, there might not be, but it is interesting because it gives us a better idea of which stuff at that part in sort of the accretion disk that formed the planets, what kinds of materials were in there, because it must still have some nuclear fuel in there because it has magma and dynamism and things going on that we weren't entirely sure of. So this is interesting.
And
how strong is...
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask, how strong is Venus's magnetic field compared to Earth's?
Well, the one that was induced, I'd have to go back and get my data. It's actually a function of the solar wind that creates it, if I'm remembering correctly. It was several months ago that we talked about this.
Yeah.
I'll go back and look it up. But this is interesting. The fact that a few researchers, a very small team, was able to take data sets that were available freely from NASA. They were able to take these data sets and do new work on them 30 years later. Yeah.
That is information mining. That's kind of the part of IT that I was in. Yeah.
Well, you don't just... you don't just send a space probe, take pictures, and go, oh, okay, now we understand things differently. People spend decades looking at the data from space probes.
Right.
Yeah.
It's absolutely critical. And in terms of stuff like the mission to planet Earth, which was a NASA initiative, you go all the way back to, what was it, the International Geophysical Year? What was that, in the 60s, Skep? I forget when it was. The International Geophysical Year, people started gathering all these metrics and data about the Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. And, we've been gathering data ever since. It's just easier to do on Earth. But when it comes to something like Venus, a 30-year-old data set of a satellite doing radar imaging over parts of the planet, throw it into a computer. It costs us nothing.
57 to 58, not 68.
Oh, well, I knew it was before me.
Yeah, it was basically all of 1958. That's what it was. Yeah.
Okay.
1958 BH.
Yeah, we really know how to bring up those brand new, pressing, fresh news stories here on Saturday Minions of the Zoo.
And what's interesting is it gives us more of the hypothesis that there might actually be, however dormant, an active, not dormant, non-volatile core to Venus.
What do you mean non-volatile core?
Well, like the Earth's core is volatile. It's constantly, there's a lot of energy in our planet's core. Whereas Venus, we thought that it was dead. We thought that there was no liquid core.
It's dead-ish.
Dead-ish. That's
Mars core is dead.
We kind of surmise now that there might actually be some activity below the surface, but we don't have any proof. It was just a hypothesis that they posited because they're like, you know what? Maybe it's not as dead as we thought.
Yeah, here's the link to the paper for anybody who's really interested.
It's only mostly dead.
Mostly dead.
Blave, which means to bluff. Yeah. He's playing cards.
So while I've got your attention, Functional, salt, right? Now, in culinary terms, when people talk about salt, people go on about Malden salt, right, and fancy sea salt. Is that the best kind? If you're a fancy food person?
No,
is sea salt the best kind?
The regular old kosher salt, I believe. At least in my opinion.
Well, that's just the size of the crystals and stuff. But people worry about fancy salt. And I've always thought like the Malden salt, like it's only made by virgins on the shores of France in like a just kissed by the summer sun,
special barrels,
with special barrels
from whale tusks, Yes.
And
Actually,
an old man drinking cognac looks on from a chair, knowingly stroking his beard. Yeah, I know that kind of nonsense. But
Sure.
turns out there's a new kid on the block, functional. It's
Oh, no.
plastic-free spring salt. Now,
What?
these people have cleverly figured out how to market their not sea salt, it is in from
Okay.
up on a mountain, by saying it doesn't
ain't
contain microplastics from the sea. Therefore, this salt is better for you because those microplastics are going to be your undoing.
I mean, have at it, Hoss. Get in on that hustle, but like,
I know.
okay.
That's all this is. It's just marketing.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, no, that's genius. As a
mean-
former marketing person, like, I mean,
I had
Also called
so much
bullshit.
sushi on Friday night. I had like a ton of sushi. I was actually full from eating sushi. That's how much sashimi I ate. And I know I didn't even think once about microplastics as I was doing it,
No.
Or
no,
mercury.
not-
or
What about
mercury.
those fish that gave their lives just to please you that night.
Thank you for your
Did you
service.
destroy?
Yes.
for your
See you on the
All
other
right.
side.
Well, I thought plastic-free spring salt that it takes some real balls to sell not fancy sea salt for
listen,
for $1.79 an ounce.
Yeah, this is salt for $1.79 for an ounce
I mean-
of salt.
I know.
even the look of it is very telling. Like, it's got that sort of brown paper bag look, even though the bag is plastic. It's one of those plastic sealable bags. I have one right in front of me that my medicine comes in.
How dare you?
The font and the color of the font, it's all very, it's the marketing of the subconscious marketing of, hey, this is all natural. It looks like a paper
Mhm.
bag with
Yeah.
a very unassuming, unthreatening font in this very.
This
dark
is probably recyclable.
yeah,
It's-
even though it's
yeah.
plastic-free salt and
Plastic lined. Yeah.
Well, anyway,
Yeah.
this is dumb, but sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say.
I was just going to. Okay, you first.
Maldon salt is generally a finishing salt. It's in France. It's not like it's in Vietnam where all the goddamn plastic islands are floating around from all the dredge that those lovely people in the CCP keep puking out into the water. I don't think you have to worry about Maldon salt.
They've been finding the microplastics in the Great Lakes and everything up here.
I'm sure they're
Yeah,
finding
yeah.
yeah. Well, the Great
Everywhere.
Lakes are in, yes.
Yeah.
There are toilets.
I'm just saying it's not necessarily just the oceans.
They're enclosed
Solid
bodies of water surrounded by industrial cities.
Yep.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
The St. Lawrence Seaway is a circulatory system. So,
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
it is a problem.
Poop
and I
goes
hope we,
in, poop stays in, poops up,
It's-
poops and ends up in
poop
Ypsilanti.
accumulates.
Yeah.
Kills
It's
all the alewives in southern Lake Michigan. Yay.
So Rotten Corpse is looking forward to getting ramen. Man, I love ramen. Ramen is great stuff.
So do I. I actually
Ramen.
buy the good ramen. When I want ramen, I actually get the good ramen. Then I add some fresh vegetables.
You don't get the one that's like $1.19 with the sprinkling of dried shrimp on it in the comes in the cellophane package.
No, I don't get that.
Oh, I love that stuff.
You
No,
know
I
what
love good
get?
ramen.
That's my that I might have for lunch though. I do throw that in for lunch for sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's
it's easy for a quick snack, even though it's like, I mean, most of them are loaded with sodium, but I mean, for a quick snack, it's not that bad.
Yeah, sodium's fine.
I like the
get all the-
crappy prepackaged crap sometimes.
If you don't have a sodium, the likelihood of people having sodium problems among the four of us is kind of low. Just saying.
Yeah, sodium is my friend. It makes food taste good, and the
Yes.
monosodium glutamate.
Hey,
I'm not scared of that at
MSG,
all.
I'm not.
No.
No.
He's our friend.
Do not disparage MSG. MSG.
I would
is
put
fine.
MSG in fudge if nobody was looking.
MSG. It's
Yeah.
like
All right.
Intensifies
So-
flavor. Yes.
Round I rub it.
So you
Yeah.
okay? So I don't remember who
Umami.
said to me. I think it was Prospero. Remember in previous episodes, we've twice now talked about these safety deposit boxes in Southern California that the FBI raided just because.
Yes.
Well,
Thank
it looks
you.
like one of the people who got their money taken just because is working to sort of sue the life out of
Good.
them. The FBI more or less decided anybody that had more than $5,000, well, that's the threshold for us to just sort of take your money. They just took it. They had no.
Hey.
They just sort of said somebody said there were shady things going on here. Every a safety deposit box they opened, of which there were hundreds, that if it had more than $5,000 in it, they just took it.
And the
Because they
disgusting thing
can.
is the banking
that is
rules
evil.
on bank transfers that have to be reported, it's 10 grand. So they can't even keep a standard of suspicion within the government. But the FBI, okay, this is what's amazing to me. The FBI has demonstrated to us in the last few years how fundamentally corrupt they are. Yet they have the balls to do this. That's the thing that is just
They're no longer fit
As
for
a-
purpose.
as a fellow traveler on this planet, I am proud that this woman is kicking a shit about this because it needs to be done. Asset forfeiture is disgusting. It is immoral. It is theft.
It is immoral. It is
it's
absolutely
pure
prone to
criminal
abuse
price.
almost instantly.
Well, it is by its nature prone to abuse, particularly when you start enticing law enforcement agencies like sheriff's offices and small town cops and that kind of stuff. Entice them with that notion of this is how you'll get the goodies that we don't have money for in the budget, boys.
Yeah.
Just take people's
New toys.
stuff from them.
It
You
gives
know,
them a profit motive to just take people's money.
As if they haven't already played the role of revenuers for decades. That's the thing. If we just keep increasing their needs for revenue because we keep forcing them to police stupid shit that we shouldn't even be wasting our time with.
Yeah.
How's that war on drugs going, boys? Cops have turned into nothing but revenuers, by and large. I'm not talking about detectives. I'm just talking about your average guy driving around who's like, who can I stop today for going 2 miles over the speed limit? And maybe I'll smell weed.
Yeah.
And then I'll search their car and then I'll find $7 grand in a little lockbox. Well, the guy's moving and all his cash he's taking with him. But, I smelled weed and there's $7 grand and it's ours now.
Yeah. Well, we wouldn't want people making a run on the banks or anything because then they could put their money in a safety deposit box. Oh, wait, if you put your money in a safety deposit box, the feds might just swoop in and take it all.
Yeah,
So we'll just make sure there's no place other than your mattress that you can put it. And then we'll tell you can't defend yourself in your own home. Yeah, we've pretty much covered all the bases, haven't we?
Yeah.
As
Thanks
far
for
back
playing.
as I've known, like I'm relatively to you guys fairly young, so I don't know that much, but I remember as far back as the Whitey Bulger thing till today, like the FBI has never been a institution that I've been able to trust in so much as being fit for purpose. And even in today's like egregious, they're now just in your face with how corrupt they are.
Yeah.
And Sanguine and I talked about this last week where we both believe that the entire FBI should just be at a certain pay grade. You're just gone. You're gone. You're blacklisted from law enforcement. Done. Lesser agents need to be re-interviewed, hired. And because the purpose, the mandate of the FBI to act as an interstate policing unit.
That wasn't even their original mandate, brother.
But their modern, was it?
Yes.
Okay. I know that their modern purpose was to act as that.
They were basically created to go after the mob. They were basically
because they operated in multiple states, right? And
yes,
police departments did not have jurisdiction.
Bit by bit, their charter, so to speak.
Okay,
but just got broadened.
But my point is that we needed some sort of organization to help police departments from state to state because laws are different and there's jurisdictional issues and blah, 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 that they could still fill that purpose. So a new agency, it's not like the FBI is part of
federal crimes that they're investigating. Federal crimes.
Yeah, because once you
top of state crimes, they're not supposed to come in Bigfoot state crime. They do it all the goddamn time and try to claim that it's federal crime.
Yeah.
But and I mean, there are times where that can be useful. You know, like if a lunatic jury in Oklahoma, if Oklahoma had been Colorado, let's say, and they'd said, well, Tim McVeigh isn't guilty, you could have charged him federally.
Yeah. Because
he attacked a federal building. But basically their purpose was to get rid of the mob.
Right.
Well, they neutered the mob, more or less. The mob changed. The mob morphed into something else. And so did the FBI.
Yeah, you call it the political system.
I remember when the mob was reliable.
Well, they were. And I mean, you know, we saw a little glimpse of a peculiar form of mob mentality about the cartel turning in the guys that murdered the kidnapped victims.
Oh, yeah.
Because there were rules in the mob. You didn't kill cops. You didn't go after judges. You didn't do law enforcement people.
Or just innocent people.
Or kids, yeah.
Yeah, like women, children.
Wives, women and children. You didn't kill cops, you know, because that's what brought down the wrath of God on you.
Yeah, yeah.
Part of it was protect your own ass. And, you know, you play a stupid game like these dickheads did, where you kidnap 4 people and you just kill 2 of them. Yay, here we go. And these guys who, you know, I mean, I don't believe for a minute most of these cartels are not operating without the imprimatur of somebody in the United States.
Well, it's good that there are rules. If suppose you had a kid whose parents were both very rich and they get mugged and then they die, that kid could end up in a monastery somewhere, and learn how to fight. Next thing you know, he's getting all up in your business and you can't even hardly have a decent time as a mobster.
Ruin Gotham.
Because there's some sociopath running around
he turned Johnny
wearing
Two Fingers into Johnny No Fingers.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. But I mean, you do. There's can be honor among thieves. Yeah. But you know,
not among the FBI, it seems.
No. See, and the thing is I found out that the Richmond office was involved in some of the pressure politics that the FBI's been playing. You know, and
my point is that the modern FBI as an institution, as it stands, is not fit for purpose. It is a completely
it's unanswerable.
I don't want to throw away the baby the baby with the bathwater, but I want to pick up the baby, dump the bathwater, light it on fire, kick over the basin, and send that shit into the sun.
One of the problems with the FBI is that it is not looked after by a Department of Justice that has any idea of regulating the FBI. Quite the contrary. The Attorney General is thrown in completely with the politics of the FBI, and they are each other's pawns. It's really a
been that way for way for a good while.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit revolting because the Attorney General, if the Attorney General were operating in the old checks and balances system and separate from the incest
he would
we have now, Strzok, the revelations about Strzok. The Attorney General would have rained hell down on the FBI for that. It would have been all kinds of heads rolling. Comey would have been dragged backwards through a hedge in to testify. Ray would have been slapped around a room. I mean, if the Department of Justice is not just the FBI, but I swear to God, the tail's wagging the damn dog.
I think Comey's violated the law, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, let's bring it back to
I
banking.
think Ray probably
All right.
has
Well,
too.
Okay.
anyway,
Because we've
banking and all
gone
that
off.
stuff.
We've gone a little
Sorry
far
about
off the beaten path. Let me bring it back to banking for a moment. I mentioned about people trusting the banks, in the context of putting stuff in the safety deposit boxes instead of being there. And of course, we had a big bank failure recently. There's this little bit of data here from 538 that actually talks a little bit about the whole idea of trust in the banking system. And look, we have a graph. Confidence in banks never fully recovered after 2008. Well, it recovered a little, but that 2008 banking crisis was not particularly good. Share of American respondents who say they have a great deal or quite a lot of confidence in banks. As of 2008, it was 32% of people polled. And it went all the way up to a whopping 38% in 2020, and now it's down to 27%. This is not a good state to be in. You can't say that you're saving the banking system when it's already
Underwater.
It's already has a pretty poor image.
Well, here's the thing. I'd like to see that broken down demographically, interestingly enough. And charted along changing demographics in the United States.
It's actually a graph of memory. That's what that is a graph of memory.
Yeah, because
you can see it start to rise as people start to forget.
Yes.
It's a Pew survey from last year. Let's see. Republicans' view of banks, large corporations have become much less positive since 2019. Okay, banks. Okay, so we've got Dems, total,
took them that long to catch on, huh?
Yeah, so
Republicans aren't very bright, apparently.
Yeah, they were they were thinking banks were doing it. Large corporations, man, that certainly has taken a dip. In fact, if there's one thing we agree on, that nobody has a positive view of large corporations. Holy crap, that's like consensus. Look at that one in the middle.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, and then we've got like this small spread here. Democrats are really big on the technology companies. I introduced them to my nemesis, Elizabeth Holmes.
But that's because the tech companies tend to tickle their taint. Like, they're very favorable to.
Oh, they've been blowing.
There's a
them
lot of
for
fluffing
years.
that's going on.
Yes.
So Solyndra is the future.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that's more recent data for you, Skep.
It's phrases like that, Skep, that you bring up that remind me of the past, that make me want to day drink.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just, it's like today, Harry had mentioned to me, he wanted me to take a look at, well, it is kind of the current story. And it took me 2 minutes to just get mad. I just got mad. I got mad.
I know what you mean.
And then I got disgusted. And then I was talking to Cree. And Cree is as jaded as I am. And he doesn't do what we do, which is talk about shit that we've talked about 1,000 times already. He's kind of like, you know what I think about this? And I'm like, okay, you're not my sounding board today. Here's why the too big to banks fail.
See, Toss is saying he's not seeing anyone in chat.
Which channel is he looking on? He's probably looking on your channel. Yeah,
he might be.
Don't even have open.
Yeah, on the Minions channel, you should be seeing it.
Oh, Jenna.
Hi, Jenna. I didn't mean to be so loud.
It's okay. We're about to switch to another story, but before we do, how are you?
I'm doing really well.
Good. Things are okay in Rhode Island?
Yeah. My son that was injured is doing great, and What?
How are things in Guacamora?
They're a little weird because
is the little bird still singing there?
Nicely done.
Thank you.
That's Finian's Rainbow. That is pretty obscure.
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, Jenna's good. Welcome, Jenna. We're going to go on to the next thing. So as I sort of predicted last week, I didn't know I would be right quite so soon. I said something which I wasn't sure of, that I wouldn't be surprised if the banks circled the wagons and bailed out some of the other banks just to keep panic from ensuing. And sure enough, a group of big banks bailed out First Republic Bank. A consortium of 11 giant banks that are ostensibly in competition with one another came together Thursday to bail out one of their own, the California-based First Republic, in order to stabilize the teetering U.S. financial system. The $30 billion transfer to First Republic by banks including JP Morgan, Citigroup, and other banking juggernauts that were deemed too big to fail in the wake of the 2008 crisis is spurring a flight of deposits away from smaller lenders. Administration officials maintain the move to save First Republic was done at the initiative of the financial sector, but multiple outlets report that Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen leaned on JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon to get the deal done.
Jamie, it'd be a real shame if you didn't help us out here.
Yeah,
You got a nice
deal
little
here.
operation you got here.
It's
I don't
hard not to be disgusted.
I don't understand why they get to get bailed out.
Well, this is just other banks bailing them out out of the kindness of their heart, because it would just make people sad, and they don't want to see people sad. So they ponied up $30 billion because that's what banks do for each other. And it totally has nothing to do with Janet Yellen having Jamie Dimon on speed dial. Allegedly. Oh, wait, I need my sign. Where's my sign?
Yeah,
Allegedly.
Do you think all banks are inhibitedly connected?
No.
This is.
You just think.
I'll let you and Skep do this, and I'll get out of the way.
Go ahead, Jenna.
Jenna, talk to Skep. Skep, talk to Jenna.
To figure out why these banks, first of all, care about another bank.
Oh,
if they're not connected.
I can explain all that. I'm happy to explain all that to you.
Go for it.
Okay. What's really happening here has nothing to do with protecting the depositors. It has absolutely nothing to do. That's a fart in a windstorm. What this is about is, and what First Republic was about, and it was a different deal. The reason they wanted to prop that up was not to help the depositors. The depositors are covered by the FDIC. And they even have supplemental insurance above that to cover deposits above the FDIC limit, the bank kept. So that piece is covered. The people they wanted to help out were the investors, because if the bank goes under, guess what happens to the investors? They lose 100% of everything. They're equity investors. They're not going to have a claim on any assets. Any assets are going to be liquidated to being paid against the run on deposits, the ostensible liquidation of the bank, or propping it up with a bunch of capital from somebody who buys it. But they're going to fire all the management, and all the investors lose 100% of their money. So what this is a bunch of crony ass capitalists getting together. Oh yeah, we got to help Billy Bob over here because this could happen to us, and we'll want them to help us out. But it's about saving these investors huge amounts of money. When they took a capital risk, it didn't work out. They behaved irresponsibly, and now they get a free bailout courtesy of the taxpayers. And that's why I'm terminally pissed off about this shit.
Meanwhile, our interest rates go up.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Yeah, and the currency vanishes or shreds itself into inflation hell. Anyway, blah blah blah.
Well, just like you, because I'm when it comes to these matters, Skep, I'm woefully ignorant.
We all
I
are.
glean what tiny bit I can from what I read, but because it's not something I know of, I don't do a lot of reading about it. But in relation to our previous story of the FBI and there being no checks and balances in that sort of case, I thought that there were
Are you asking about what the checks and balances are in the Fed system?
And
the Fed is the check and the balance. The Fed is
the Federal Reserve.
The Federal Reserve is
great.
the agency that is tasked with maintaining financial order, maintaining the value of the currency, maintaining low inflation, manageable inflation rates. Some inflation is inevitable. You're going to have 1 or 2% inflation. That's just part of living.
Right.
But that's there are so when the Fed has to do something as radical as raise interest rates after a period of no interest rates, these banks get caught holding securities that have long maturities and have low coupon rates relative to the new coupon issue bonds that are coming out now. This devalues them, so they sell them at a loss. Well, that looks like, and it actually is, and is instantly recognized as a huge loss against the bank. When that happens, the depositors get nervous. They start withdrawing their money. Then the bank has to liquidate, more investments. They take bigger losses. Do you see what the problem is? And eventually they run out of money before the depositors run out of demand, and the bank goes TU. And the investors lose 100% of the money. Now, before all those bad things happen, what these guys want to have happen in a prop-up type situation is before that nuclear critical mass happens, when there's no more money to pay, and there's still plenty of depositors with legitimate demands, that a massive infusion of cash from Uncle Sam comes in and makes everything okay again.
Yeah.
And then they can go back and go behave irresponsibly again, because that irresponsible behavior is protected by their cronies. These assholes.
Oh, it's consequence free. Yeah.
It is so much.
Yeah, and you've also got some irresponsible behavior on the part of the Fed.
Yeah, do you think?
Well, part of the program,
that much I do know,
Thursday was different lenders spoke to the people that were there. They spoke.
Part of this happened on Trump's watch too, by the way.
Yeah. And I mean, it isn't because of easing regulation so much as the failure of the watchmen to do their watching. Because the regulators don't pay attention and they don't give the Fed any feedback, or if they do, the Fed ignored it. Because the consensus agreement among the lenders that were present at this thing I went to on Thursday was that the Fed will be lowering interest rates. That they went too aggressive, that this SVB failure and the ripple effect that it is demonstrating has alarmed them. And with inflation leveling, as they put it, I'm putting a big X to doubt, but with inflation leveling, because they can ease up on the interest rates, because they jerked them up very, very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very, very quickly to so-called cool down the economy, and it had almost no impact on the inflation. What it did is it left the banks with these low yields and holding the bag to some extent. Now, some of it is because they're paper writing happy, as you said. It's like, yes. To everything.
Wait till we go through a business cycle of a year of this.
Yeah.
And what will happen is the capital accounts of these companies will be so eroded that they will have less borrowing power. What that will do will be to put less demand in the capital markets, and you'll have this artificial lowering pressure on interest rates because of lack of demand of capital.
Yeah,
and that's a thing, and that will happen. You watch that happen in about a year. Guaranteed.
Yeah, they're all predicting before the end of the year that the interest rates are going to be adjusted.
Yeah, they will. They're going to move around a little bit, I think.
For good or bad?
Well, for borrowers, and it depends because it can be extremely market based. In the greater Richmond area, just in particular, we only have about a month worth of houses for inventory. 30-day inventory. That's not much when you've got still very high demand for housing.
Hold on. We're getting into this way deeper than we need to, and I'm losing my will to live.
I'm so sorry, Harry.
No,
it's
fine. It's fine. But it's my job to keep us moving, and I'm going to do my job. While we've got Prospero around, Trump predicts he'll be arrested Tuesday. Calls for protests. I'll tell you, when I was looking for articles talking about this story, some of the garbage that I found, I mean, like the AP one, immediately went into, made calls for protests reminiscent of the blah, 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 January 6th, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, oh my God, AP has fallen so far.
Yeah.
It's just propaganda.
It is. And it's look.
But tell us a story, Prospero. Tell us about this a little bit, if you would.
Once upon a time, there was a doxy named Stormy Daniels.
Mm.
And apparently Trump got happy with Stormy Daniels back in 2006. We don't know whether it's true or not, but what we do know as semi-fact is that Michael Cohen decided to pay her money so that she wouldn't disclose this affair in 2006 during the presidential campaign.
2016.
During the 2016 campaign, the affair was in 2006, Jenna.
Oh, sorry.
Regardless, I meant to preface this with a personal remark, which is, God damn it, do I long for the days when Democrats scolded people about pearl clutching over sexual peccadillos. Could we please go back to that? This is probably one of the most torturous attempts to prosecute somebody.
Yeah.
For anything that's worth a piddling shit. I mean, it is a stretch to say that this is some kind of campaign finance law.
Yeah.
Violation. But anyhow, Trump paid back Michael Cohen in installments, purportedly, to pay him back for the payola to Stormy. Now, if I recall, Ms. Daniels signed an NDA. And that all came up during the whole Cohen thing, that she was going to be violating her NDA.
Mm-hmm. Or as I jokingly said, I remember a time when hush money used to stand for something.
Well, yeah. And I mean, hush money is not necessarily per se illegal. You can pay people not to say things about you.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not against the law.
It's a contract between
she has a business opportunity to basically monetize her experience, shall we call it. And they basically said, we're going to give you this instead, and you can just keep your mouth shut.
Yes.
Yeah, unlike earlier. But anyway, yes. So
she was going to violate an NDA, which everybody in this is a scum. But this is claiming that it was some kind of campaign hush money. I don't quite understand why, after the out of context tape with the Hollywood person, out of all the other stuff, why Trump would care enough.
they're trying to tack another charge onto it. So basically, they're doing this misdemeanor record keeping at your corporation thing and trying to somehow tie it to this campaign finance thing.
Yeah.
So they're taking a misdemeanor and something that's probably not illegal and trying to turn it into this chimera of legal threat.
What I don't understand is Trump was self-financing.
Yes.
Yeah, he had no.
So
But
what
they're
he
using
does with his money, it doesn't matter. What they're doing is they're going. You took it out of the wrong pot. You
well,
wrote it
even
on that
then,
account instead of this account, kind of thing. It doesn't.
Well, even then, Prospero, they're presenting the receipt of the retainer he paid the creepy porn lawyer Avenatti as proof that he paid her off. And I mean, the two don't match because people in Trump's situation have lawyers on retainer.
Well, Cohen is the one that supposedly paid her, and then
I forgot Avenatti's the other side.
He supposedly paid Cohen back for writing this check to Stormy Daniels.
But
where's the smoking gun that says pay the broad, I'll pay you back?
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're using the receipt of him paying the retainer to Cohen as this smoking gun, and there's no there. There's nothing there.
What it is a thin, stupid story.
Yes,
that is about as entertaining as a stain that looks like spinach dip.
And even if it fails in the courts, all they want is that photo op of them walking him out in cuffs, and they want that photo op of him walking out in cuffs, innocent or guilty. Which the
perp walk.
They want the perp walk photo op so that they can ride that just like they did Russia, and all
January
the other
6th.
Shit that they Jan 6, all the bullshit lies that they force feed the ignorant masses. They will use that photo op to do the same, even though they could do a whole what's his name they could do a whole song and dance on every one of the late night talk shows saying, hey, he's innocent, and people will still see they had a
politically the people that they're trying to lure away are the independents that voted for him the last time,
which I think it'll backfire.
I think it's going to make
that's what Elon was saying. You do this,
I think it'll galvanize
and it will galvanize people. I'm not sure about those wishy-washy fence city.
It's too general of a statement, but I do think there will be a significant amount of people
Somebody needs to remind everybody what was said repeatedly about the entire Clinton thing, which is
when he actually directly paid Monica for thing while he was in office.
No, that's not what got Clinton in trouble. What got Clinton in trouble was lying in front of a grand jury.
I did not have
about things he probably shouldn't have been questioned about at the time anyway.
Absolutely, but he should have just answered the damned questions.
Or refused to answer.
Refused to answer. Yeah,
but don't lie.
I'm a fan of Clinton, but I mean, that was a kerfuffle on his end.
Well, this is so
it is.
It's like the Republicans were salivating to impeach Bill Clinton because it was going to be their revenge for what they saw as the 20 years of gain that the Democrats had made on the back of Richard Nixon's corruption. And I think it is personally a mistake to politicize. Well, I know it's a mistake, and I know it's already in play. The politicization of DA's offices. The Manhattan District Attorney's office is a mess. Okay, it's a fucking mess. You've got no bail situations in New York, driving the crime rate up, and they're wasting their time on this nonsense. And you've got Adam Kinzinger, that absolute infantile twat on Twitter, going, well, you do the crime, you got to do the time. Womp womp, Marge. Marjorie Taylor Greene. He sat on a committee that withheld exculpatory evidence.
Did Kinzinger actually say that in that way?
Yes, he said womp womp.
No, but if you don't do the crime, if you can't do the time.
Oh my God, hang on. I can find exactly what he said.
Because because that would be amazing, because what he's alluding to, what he's alluding to is the theme music to the series Beretta, written by Barry White.
Yeah, no.
Which is called Keep Your Eye on the Sparrow. Why it's called that, I don't know. But that's a line from a 1970s TV series. Yeah. It's actually a really good theme song. And my favorite version is not the version that they play on the show, but it's Sammy Davis Jr.'s cover of it. But though I digress.
Don't do it.
Lest we also forget that there was a case of mass murder that went completely untouched by the judiciary in New York State by a certain mobster, allegedly.
There's a question when you're done.
What Kinzinger said is, you break the law, you go to jail. Womp womp, Marge.
Yeah.
Now, I'd like to point out to Mr. Kinzinger that he sat on a committee made up of a lot of lawyers who withheld exculpatory evidence in J6. But we'll just forget about that, won't we, Mr. Boo-hoo?
Yeah. Well, we do need to keep moving forward, but there's a question. Who was the other woman Clinton was banging he paid off?
Oh, Jennifer Flowers?
Yeah, that sounds right.
I knew it started with the J. I had a question about
starts
the
with
perp walk.
G, actually.
G, actually, yeah.
Jennifer.
Okay.
She's a Jennifer.
She's a Jennifer. Okay, so what do you want to know about the perp walk? It's going to be majestic. It's going to be the best perp walk ever.
Be amazing.
The greatest perp walk ever.
Will it actually be shown, or will he just go into the thing?
Well,
they'll show it right up to the assassination.
It'll be like a royal wedding. It'll be like a royal wedding, or a coronation. It's going to be the best thing ever.
One of the policemen is going to have a malfunction with his weapon.
I don't even have a thing for what you're saying, Skep. Okay, well, maybe this is the right one. There's the right one. Maybe even if it isn't, let's just go with that. Okay.
Crackpot.
But doesn't his Secret Service?
I'm going to have Serenity make me a sign that just says, "Don't listen to Skep."
That would be really awesome. That would be really awesome.
Sorry, Harry. All right. I take it back.
Shoot out between the local crazy constabulary and the Secret Service. That's exactly what it needs. That Trump's people have said that should it come to what he's expecting on Tuesday, that there will be no scene at Mar-a-Lago. What will happen is, however, just like with Roger Stone's home raid, CNN will be there. They will be tipped off by law enforcement. They will all be there. It will all be beautifully orchestrated. And then you'll have photoshops of Trump crapping his pants, and it'll be awesome. It'll just be the left can't meme on steroids.
Yeah. That's where you go to bed wearing your suit. Just saying.
Well,
but I want to talk to Jenna while we've got her here about the next topic, which is...
I don't have a list of topics. Hi, Functional. You just realized I was here?
Oh, I said hi before.
I've
been having a sneezing fit, so I've kind of been muting myself.
Which is good. So, Jenna, aren't you looking forward to a bunch of your kids getting reparations? Have you thought about moving to San Francisco?
You have to be 10 years resident, identifying as black.
Oh my!
She has
the only kids that are 10-year residents are the ones that were born here that I adopted. And Elizabeth.
But have they identified as black for 10 years?
Not of San Francisco. So are you familiar with what they're talking about? Jenna, the reparations for people in San Francisco?
Please enlighten me so I can give my opinion.
Okay, so what we're looking at is a $5 million cash payout, $97,000 a year for the next 250 years, because why not, right?
I'm sorry, what?
$97,000 a year for the next 250 years.
You're going to want to get that in gold.
You're going to want to sign up early for that because that sounds pretty awesome. And $1 homes. Now,
By the
people
way,
are.
I'm black,
and I'm sorry. And total debt forgiveness. So debt forgiveness. Now, this is the way it's being reported. Okay. But there's so much more to the story than that. Let me see. Why can I not find the thing? I'm like,
Are we out of mules and 20 acres?
So I've actually taken the liberty of finding the most recent draft from the Reparations Committee, and it is a doozy. It makes for some great reading. There are over 120, I think was it 121 or 211? I forget. There's just like pages and pages and pages of things. And one of the supervisors, when asked about this, said that she agreed with all of them. She'd really like to see every single one of them come through. So
she read every page.
Yeah, she read every page. I didn't read every page, but I read enough pages to know this is pure cancer. Let's see. Scroll forward. There's like charts and things talking about stuff.
On it. Lots of letters.
Historical housing discrimination. That's one of their big things.
To Santa baby.
Yeah, conclusion. So let's see. Economic empowerment. All right. So here's the actual thing.
Santa baby.
So let's see. Introduce tax credits for those who qualify for reparations. Create a Black reparations trust that can accept funds for the sole purpose of investing in Black communities.
And this only goes to Black people?
Create legal structures to protect those who receive reparations from financial speculators or predators, including court block accounts, trust accounts. Yeah, because we want to make sure that if they come into a bunch of money, they can't be held accountable for anything else that they might have done. In terms of housing, there's a whole bunch of housing stuff, which is all just complete Looney Tunes. We obviously do not have time to go through all of this stuff here. Let me scroll. Black
release from liability kind of stuff, though, is always overbroad.
The reason sorry, Skep.
Black business ownership. Now, education. So we've got, excuse me, ensure funding to African American student achievement, including the continued funding, blah, blah, blah. Identify and distribute local and state funds, yada, yada, yada. Incentivize the state education agency to conduct deep racial equity audits, eliminate racially biased curriculum, implement strategies to promote address negative racial impacts, and establish frameworks for applying a racial equity lens to future policy and programming decisions.
Wait, eliminate...
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff here about
racially based curriculum. So all those Black classes that DeSantis got rid of, they're now on board with, and CRT they're no longer on board with. Believe it when I see it.
Fund tuition assistance for 2 to 4 year college institutions, trade school, and other post-secondary school options. Invest in pathways for Black graduates to return to San Francisco to work in the Union School District. City will provide funding. I mean, it eliminates student loan debt for Black people in San Francisco who went through the San Francisco Union School District. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And any one of these points is, well, with a few small exceptions, almost any one of these points is terrible. Could make a whole section in the show in a non-Looney Tunes time. We could just sit here and talk for 15 minutes about how one of these things is stupid. Ain't nobody got time to talk about how bad all of this stuff is in total.
Well, I want to clarify one thing. The reason why I asked if it was only for Black people is because what about indentured servants? What about...
No, it's only for Black people. Those Asian people that came as not indentured servants.
The Irish.
Well, those Asian people that came and worked on the railroads, they can just suck it because they've gone on to become extremely successful members of society, on average making more than white people.
And Harry,
San
just
Francisco.
to sort of...
Sorry?
Just to solidify your previous comment.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Exactly. The trouble is, I know I'm kind of sucking as a host here. I'm kind of apoplectic. I can't.
No.
This is so.
You got to wrangle the cats.
This is so bad that this is the kind of thing where normally I think of politics and I think, okay, there's bad politics and there's people who are greedy or they're just trying to do whatever. This is insane. This is insane. Evil. there isn't enough money in San Francisco to pay for whatever this is supposed to be. And then if the state gives reparations, do you get separate reparations on top of, do you get state and San Francisco? Can you double dip?
Yeah, what if you're Native American and, you know, a black person? What's your deal? Do you get a special deal? Do you get double deal?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what if you're Two-Spirit and part black? Then do you get double payment?
Or what if you're like me and just identify as being black?
Yeah.
I'm moving out there, by the way.
You should.
No, you're not.
I'm on the way.
I will not let you.
Feeling blacker by the moment.
There's a number of people. There's a number of people in chat who are associated, pretending they're black now. Green Badger understands. The thing is, you got to be consistent. If you're a Toronto school teacher who supposedly has gynomastia or whatever, you know, you got to do it 100% of the time. Otherwise, they're going to realize you're trolling.
Gigantomastia.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say what I was going to say because I think it would get us straight.
Yeah, well, don't do that then. Say something slightly less terrible.
Instead, I'm going to say that the only real people I met who are actual African Americans are four of my children, a niece, and my son's girlfriend. I was going through my Tom. Yeah, are there any others? I don't think so. Prospero, are there any others?
What?
She can't even keep them all straight.
Just start numbering them. It'll be easier.
Yes, it would be.
No, I'm counting black children.
Well, just name them like B1, B2, B3.
Yeah, well, actually, my youngest, who would be the fourth.
You have the two cookie wafers and the Oreo. You have...
Okay, I'm starting to lose track of what this has to do with anything. What does this have to do with the story? This is reparations, right?
They're actually African American. They were born in Africa and they became American citizens.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
So
do you think logic is going to... I don't think logic is going to give us the answer. I think we just need to sit back and wait. I think, okay, here's what I think is happening in San Francisco. It's a game of chicken. Nobody wants to basically admit that the emperor has no clothes, and they're all figuring that it can be... somebody else can be the heavy. So they're just agreeing up until the point where somebody brings out the check and puts it on the table, and then nobody grabs for it. That's the problem.
They don't even have the money to pick up human feces on the street.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have the money to do this. I can't remember. There's some calculation that I saw that said, I don't know how many people they think are in this class that would receive these, but they're saying it's something like $60,000 per household it would take to pay this. And I'm not even convinced that that number covers it.
Gavin, baby, a 54 Impala tonight.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
All right, this is annoying.
It's stuck in my head.
Gavin, baby, one little thing I really need is...
The next thing isn't really much less annoying. Bay Area freeway shootings are double that of LA. Now, you may say to yourself, LA is a shithole. How is it possible that the Bay Area is twice as bad? Well, let me show you an interactive map. You may notice that there's a certain clustering that's taking place on where a lot of these shootings are happening. And it's in the place that I talked about earlier where the baker got killed at the bank. Yeah. It's Oakland. It's like you go to Oakland and you drive around on the freeway and you just get shot at. Now, maybe they are just really good at marksmanship. I don't know. But Oakland is so bad that it basically makes the Bay Area on average twice as bad as LA. That's how bad it is over there.
I thought California didn't have guns.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just absolutely terrible numbers of highway shootings that happen in the East Bay. It's that whole sort of Oakland Raiders, thug life, do-rag, walking around with a Glock in your
Bloods
pants,
versus
in your
Crips.
sweatpants thing. It's just not good.
Yeah, but they moved to Vegas, so you can't blame the Raiders anymore.
No, I can't blame the Raiders anymore, but there's just a lot of problems in Oakland. They need to, and it's not my job to fix them. These people have to decide for themselves that they don't want to live like this, and they need to demand of their leaders that they stop it.
Either that or wall it off.
I can just be offended from a distance, because I think a lot of times when people think of California, they think it's all like this, and no, it's not. A lot of our problems are really localized. Even San Francisco, as bad as it is covered in human feces, it doesn't have the kind of shooting problems that they have in the East Bay.
But see, south of there, on the coast, is a lovely place called Santa Cruz, which is full of people that enable that shit.
Oh, yeah.
That is,
well, they plant fruit trees for the homeless in their front yards. Yeah.
There was a song that I cannot repeat in public any longer that was done years and years ago by National Lampoon.
Okay.
That actually referenced Oakland and issues they had there. And all the lefties that were with them all across the bay. And it's been part of Oakland's problem that they have been enabled to ditch out as badly as they have over the last 50 years. Because of the good-hearted, well-meaning souls all across the bay in San Francisco, smiling at them and saying, "We understand your plight and we're behind you."
I don't see how that really changes anything. I think Oakland's problem is Oakland's problem.
It always has been Oakland's problem.
And I don't think the good wishes of San Francisco across the bay really change any of that.
No,
it's about the people.
They've enabled it.
I don't see how they've enabled it. Maybe I'm just missing your point, but I just don't get it.
They have excused and refused to name the social problems and the governmental problems that have plagued that area for years.
But that doesn't enable it. It's not San Francisco's job to check Oakland.
It does when they're constantly harping on how racist everybody is everywhere.
I think Oakland is a homegrown problem. I don't see it as being really affected by the opinions of others.
Maybe what Prospero is saying is that, you know, the tolerant attitude of the San Francisco academistas is fanning the flames of what makes the complacency that leads to generational poverty, crime, you know, the kind of stuff that goes down on like southern Oakland, down there on Fruitvale and all that shit, down in southwest Oakland, where, you know, there are no-go places down there. That's just, it's a completely different type of problem than the problems that they have in San Francisco. And I think the linkage is you might be able to say that, you know, these guys are just by creating a public environment of tolerance for this, they're basically kind of doing a slow motion thing of what Mayor Beetlejuice did in Chicago, in Oakland,
supporting, endorsing, and encouraging.
But you know, Harry's point is that's not San Francisco's problem, and no. San Francisco has a very different kind of problem. Mm-hmm. It's different in scope, and it's different in type. I would agree with it. I agree. And plus, it's also not even related, really. The Bay Bridge does a very good job of keeping the East Bay in the East Bay. They're
completely different cultures. I don't think that if Mayor London Breed endorsed a candidate in the Oakland mayor's race, it would make a bit of difference.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly.
I think that Oakland which used to be a really fine city, and the Oakland Hills are really pretty swanky, but the crime is starting to get completely out of hand there. There's a ring of people that are pretending to be Amazon delivery people that are shaking down a lot of the nicer houses there.
The Walnut Creek
Lovely.
area,
A
too.
lot more invasion type robberies starting to happen in the Oakland Hills too, though I digress. I just, I don't know, why did I bring this up? I think I want to just sort of show people that I'm not an apologist for California, and but I think that a lot of the blame for California really comes from a fairly small number of places. Oakland is, in some ways, some of the worst of the worst. If you want to look at problems with squatters and the police being completely castrated and absolutely ineffectual leadership, Oakland is, I mean, they are at the top of their game when it comes to that kind of incompetence.
Yeah.
And I feel really badly for anybody who's left in Oakland who has any sense, who's unable to leave for whatever reason.
Can I give a PCA?
Yeah, and then we're going to move on to the next thing.
Go to Auckland, not Oakland.
Auckland. Yeah, go to Auckland.
I have a
Well
said.
question.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead,
the
Functional.
DA, the DA is appointed. The state.
No,
DA's
that's
office?
elected.
Okay, like where I agree with what you and Skep were saying, isn't it also part of the problem that they keep voting for people like Newsom, like Gascon, like, I mean, who then feed in on a larger scale to the problem of what's been going on. So I do think that there's a little bit of a problem if that's true.
The blue machine perpetuates a lot of the problem that we have in urban environments.
Right.
It's not just in Oakland by any stretch.
My point is that it's
Oakland's just going to the dogs really, really quickly.
Yeah.
I think I have a way I might be able to clarify it. Okay, so San Francisco is a bunch of idiot hippies. Oakland is a bunch of idiot thugs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the problem, the type of liberal insanity that exists on one side of the bay is completely different from what exists on the other side of the bay. And I think I'm starting to get what Prospero was saying about, by San Francisco and Berkeley and all these other places just sort of sucking all the sanity molecules out of the air. It definitely doesn't help Oakland. It would be good if everybody just mocked them.
Right.
But I
they're
still
very
think
forgiving and understanding of the generational poverty, fatherlessness, and rampant gang and gun crime. We're doing everything we can by banning guns.
Yeah.
It is well-meaning. I do think, this is the only way I can live on this planet with these people. I do think it is supposedly from a place of goodness in their hearts that they do not understand that their paternalism is not benign. Their paternalism is crushing the life out of these people.
Sure.
Yeah.
As it's
I
done
know.
in Chicago, in Baltimore, and Detroit, everywhere else. You look upon, particularly your minority citizens in cities like this, as poor, helpless.
Bigotry of low expectation. Yeah.
Oh God, it's worse than that. It's actual racism.
To paraphrase, the I-580 is paved with good intentions.
Yeah.
I don't care what color people's skin is. What they need to do, the only solution to this, honestly, is for Oakland to go as close to El Salvador as they possibly can. They need to have the political will to deal with this and not just talk about restorative justice and things like that. You have to just decide that you don't want to live in a city that's a shithole. If you go to Oakland, the chance that somebody will try to stage an insurance scam thing is very, very high. It's happened to me. I don't go to Oakland very often, but every single time I go to Oakland, something bad happens or tries to happen. This is not an exaggeration.
Station insurance.
Like
they pull in front of you in your car.
Yes.
Yeah, I had somebody do that
Lovely.
to me on a motorcycle last night, Skep. It was the closest I think I've ever come to getting injured on a bike.
Wow.
Yeah, St. Patrick's Day was not a good time to be on two wheels. And I'm just being punished because I made the comment, oh, I don't need to worry. Ever since Uber and Lyft came along, people have been a lot better behaved and they've really been cracking down. And then after years of really good New Year's Eves and just not a lot of problems with drunks, last night it was just like me on a motorcycle and drunks just trying to kill me over and over again. It was not good, though I digress.
I think
That's
the
called
solution
statistics, Harry.
And
Yeah.
now I have an image of you on a bike trying to get run over by leprechauns.
Oh, I used
think
the
this-
anti-lock brakes to great effect last night.
I think
Oh,
the
man,
end
this
solution
is-
is we just take a page out of John Carpenter's book.
Yeah.
Escape from New York, Escape from New
All
York.
right. Now, shall we move on, or do we want to talk about how much Oakland sucks any longer?
No, because Oakland.
No, my soul is dead.
Okay, we're going to do the next one really fast. The teachers in Los Angeles are doing a sympathy strike with
good.
some of the other unions, like the bus drivers and the cafeteria workers and all that
they
sort of
care
stuff.
so much. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is totally not them just wanting a longer weekend.
These suck fucking. God damn it.
I mean, just think about how nice it must be just to say, well, the weather's really good. Why don't we just take Monday
walk.
through Wednesday off?
Yeah.
Just
Weather's really good. It's 20
Yeah.
degrees out.
as far as I'm concerned, they
not
could
in
just
Los
stay.
Angeles.
They could just stay there. So I brought up the United Teachers Los Angeles Union page. God, this is a lot of red.
Oh,
Look at this. Look at this thing. This
How
is just.
surprising.
I know. It's, look
The
at
red
all
is
the
for
red.
strength.
With a gold
comrade.
bar across the top. Because
Okay, and then there's there's an angry white woman,
Yeah.
and then there's some more women wearing their little vagina hats.
Yeah.
Because collective power of our schools. This is just so great. Their union page is fantastic. So this is about their solidarity strike that they're doing, and I just started losing the will to live. I was counting. Here's a couple guys. I'm not sure that they're white men, but they've pushed them off to the margins in the bottom right of this thing.
The guy looks like on the right looks like John Irola. Damn.
Yeah, no. This is like this is one of the more communist
That's part of
unions
the
I've run into
problem
in a
that we
while.
have in public schools, by the way, is we don't have enough male teachers. Just saying.
True.
Who haven't
Well,
been
I mean,
castrated.
Well, yes.
I mean, it's-
and the
it's
males
a
that are there
fallback.
are beta bitches.
Sorry, I'm
it's a
unusually
fallback.
angry tonight. I apologize.
How am I?
That would be a fallback position from the fatherlessness problem in the home.
And then
which,
chase them out of public
you
education.
need somebody to fill that goal, but
Yeah,
they
chase
don't
them out
have
of
that in
public
public
education.
education, which was the next default location
Mhm.
because teachers are supposed to be in a position of trust.
Only in
however
sports.
eroded that is now.
Only in
up
sports
here-
are you going to find them now, and it's
Now, yeah,
or in the military,
or some sort of vocational.
and they're trying to
program.
castrate the military. So
Yeah.
Kidding.
they're going out of their way to castrate anything that carries with it the least whiff of
Yeah.
masculinity, because God forbid.
Oh yeah, there's something about that coming in a little bit too. Let me just put a pin in that for a moment, because we are going to come back to that
God, I'm
topic.
pissed now.
Jenna,
Yes.
you've homeschooled a bunch of kids, haven't you?
Yes.
Okay. Do you feel that the materials that they give you and sort of the ease of homeschooling has gotten better because of all the computers and just so many kids being homeschooled? I mean, I would hope it's getting better. I don't know the answer. Do you think it's pretty good homeschooling now? Like as an industry, as a thing that people do, is it easier than it was before, or?
When we first started, which would be 5 years ago.
Oh, so not that long. I was thinking you'd been doing it longer. Okay.
No, we started when a teacher assaulted my kid.
Good reason.
Verbally.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were
So-
just doing it all this time because you loved your children and wanted them to get an education, but that's a good reason too.
Well, we actually do a co-op thing where they don't go to a public school, but it's private, but it's only maybe 2 days a week or even 2 days every other week they go to that school.
Is
And
that for
otherwise they work at home.
socialization mostly, or is it actually part of their instruction?
It's for the testing that they need, the state needs.
Okay.
Yeah, the state wants to maintain a certain degree of control.
So it's a compliance thing with
Yes.
state rules and stuff. Okay.
And they do get to be in a class setting with their friends and stuff, which they do like. But
Are they allowed to participate in sports if they're interested in it and that kind of thing?
yes,
In the school,
my
okay.
kids play rugby and
Okay,
baseball and soccer.
and those aren't private clubs; those are school of activities.
Rugby's private.
Well, that makes sense, but
The other dance is private. The other ones are not.
okay. I thought most judges had ruled that barring homeschooled kids from, because homeschooling doesn't excuse you from paying the taxes that support the school system.
Yeah, they're in our
you don't-
town schools.
So they can avail themselves of the sports
Team.
and those kinds of
You
things.
don't forfeit your ability to take advantage of those things.
The
Right.
school that
But
the
you
kids
can't be a burden on the school. There is pushback both ways. There's a bunch of Texas law about that.
Yeah, well, I know that varying states vary. Varying states vary. How amazing!
Yep.
Different states vary, but that most court cases had gone toward, for God's sake, let the kids socialize. You're
Yeah.
paying taxes to support these football and baseball and soccer
Very
and
much so.
the teams.
Yep.
And Massachusetts is draconian as hell, as a controlled strangulation commonwealth. But
well, as for the homeschooling part of it, yes, it's gotten a lot easier as all of the adults in the house have learned, and everybody kind of has a certain thing that a subject. We also just don't sit there and do paperwork. We go and we'll go to Plymouth Plantation. We'll go to
take them on field trips.
no, it's not. Oh, strawberry. No.
Field trips. I mean, that's an accurate
Thornton.
description.
Where?
Something or another.
Yeah. No, but
Sturbridge
when you
Village?
hear about
Yes.
when you hear about like a teacher strike, does it kind of just amuse you in the way that you don't have to care because you're sort of independent?
In the way that these teachers are ridiculous. It also amused me in the fact that I was a teacher and I would have never made it. I bet it was 19 years of teaching without killing somebody.
No, I totally.
You'd have sucked as a union member, Jenna.
Well, there's a Norm Macdonald thing where a teacher in the audience at one of his shows started sort of heckling him, and they got into the whole, oh, the teachers are the heroes. The teachers are definitely the heroes.
No, they're not.
Thing. It was pretty funny. I've been watching Clarkson's Farm, and I'm just about done with season 2 of it, and I have to say I've really been enjoying it. Now, Jeremy Clarkson is maybe not everybody's favorite human being. He's obnoxious and kind of boorish and not as funny as he thinks he is sometimes. I mean, you can go through the whole list. But to his credit, he's actually done a really good job of sort of illustrating what farming is like and how behind the 8 ball the farmers, especially in the UK, are. Now, a lot of the problems that they have financially exist in the US as well.
Mm-hmm.
But he, with all of the benefits that he has, is struggling to break even on his farm and is constantly being shot down by the local politicians who just want to stick it to him. They just don't care about all the jobs he's trying to create for the farmers that can't, in the pandemic, can't actually make a living because of the prices. They're losing money on dairy and pork and everything. And he was ready to set up a restaurant. And anyway, I don't need to give the whole story away.
They shut it down because of the parking, they said.
He's actually won awards, real awards, for the work that he's done publicizing the plight of these farmers and stuff. So when I hear these teachers talking about how they are the heroes and how rough their life is, yeah, teaching can be hard, and yeah, it's an important job. But in terms of like the 50 most underpaid people in the Western world, they're not even on that list.
No, they're not. They're actually paid quite well.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, farmers, fishermen, there's so many people that go out there, in order trying to feed us, who risk their lives and their financial well-being to do all this sort of stuff. And the teachers unions is in places like LA where they just decided they didn't want to show up for work. They really liked that whole telelearning thing.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway, I'm screwing up my own schedule at this point.
The difference between the difference.
Go ahead, Jenna, and then Skep, and then we're gonna go to the next thing.
So
I'm done.
Because of
Hi,
COVID,
Serenity.
that screwed us up completely. Hi, Serenity.
Go on, Jenna. Sorry.
Also, teachers. How do I put this politely?
Don't put it politely. Say it. Say it.
Teachers think they're shaping the future. No. The parents are shaping the future. They are there to teach the kids, and they apparently will no longer be teaching Black history in San Francisco.
I think you might be wrong, Jenna. I think the parents are supposed to be shaping the future, but I think the teachers are actually doing it.
Yeah,
and I point you at every HR department in the world. Yeah.
The teachers
they've captured so many institutions as a result of the idiots that these teachers have produced. I have a feeling that you might be denial's not just a river in Egypt right now, Jenna.
Well, no, it's not that. It's my kids are.
Your kids are blessed.
Yes,
because
to have you and your husband as the people raising
and
them. Your kids are blessed.
They've got a lot of adults.
But I do need to move things forward. But before we do that,
and doing college classes.
Okay, we got to keep moving. So hold on, we have to put a pin in it. So, hi, Serenity.
Hello.
Do you have anything you want to share with us before we get back to the regularly scheduled thing? Anything interesting happened in the last week to you?
No.
No.
Teachers, a lot of teachers suck. There we go.
Teachers suck. Okay. News 11. All right. Let's see. Let's make this go away.
Question, because up here, there's definitely a relationship between, the teachers union and the other unions in the sphere. Because when one, let's say the teachers strike, the custodial unions and all the other unions come together in solidarity. And so when the situation is reversed, I understand the need, even though I don't like them, the need for the teachers union in this case to come to the aid of the other unions. Even though I don't agree with it, I understand why it happens.
Yeah, and these other unions are definitely more underpaid than the teachers.
I think to your point, I don't think it's as cut and dry, to be fair. Well, no, it's just they wanted a weekend off. Or
down here, the teachers unions don't strike with anybody else unless it backs them better. Like if.
Well, that's what I'm saying. One hand is washing the other.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if the same up here, I know because I have firsthand experience with it, but I'm just wondering if that's kind of a similar situation down here. They're helping them because the other unions come out in solidarity with the teachers unions, and whatever. It's dumb.
Well, down here, no, they don't, because most other unions don't like the teachers union. At least in my state, they don't, or at least the neighboring states, they don't. So the teachers do it because they need to take the attention onto themselves.
Yeah.
Like what Harry said, they get a 4-day weekend, and they can make this about themselves instead of actually
5-day weekend.
5-day weekend.
5-day weekend.
And they can make it about themselves and take the attention off the people who actually are fighting to get better pay. I
don't know if I entirely get behind that. I can see that there being that sort of optics messaging kind of thing when it is their time to protest or whatever. walk off the job. If they're so important, then why are they walking off the job?
Well, the thing is,
to say, hey, look, we stood with them in solidarity. Now it's our turn. I think it's more of that sort of parasocial sort of thing rather than, hey, look at me, look at me.
Well, I mean,
I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
Well, I mean, if you look at all the media, though, they're only talking about the teachers. They're not talking about the people who are actually striking.
Yeah, they're not
That's
talking
the
about
problem.
the lunch ladies and those people, and they might be being underpaid, possibly. I mean, it is LA. It's not like there aren't lots and lots and lots of people in sort of the food service industry, and more of them coming across the border all the time.
Oh yeah.
They are benefiting from mass immigration in terms of having a lot of like talented, hardworking people that they can hire for those jobs, which drives the wages down. Right. That's part of the problem with immigration, because you know who really doesn't like lots of mass immigration? People who just got here or who've been here for a while. Cesar Chavez was not in favor of the president of the United Farm Workers.
Yeah.
He was not in favor of mass immigration because he knew it would actually reduce the wages of the people he represented. Right. There's this misconception that like every Mexican American who lives in California is in favor of mass immigration. They're not.
Nope.
And that's part of why I would guess, this is just an educated guess, the lunch ladies and stuff in the LA school district are not making as much as they would otherwise, because there's a lot of people that are willing to come in there and take their jobs. Okay, enough of that hot take. All right, moving forward. So did you hear about this, Serenity, that Biden actually approved an oil drilling project?
Yep, I saw it on Tumblr. Tumblr was making jokes about it left and right.
Yeah, everybody's making jokes about this thing. So,
well, it's the sarcastic joke of like, oh, I thought we were green now. It was that kind of stuff. Well,
here's the I've sort of highlighted the salient points for anybody, because the Greens are pissed off about it, and a bunch of people are saying, well, he's being a hypocrite. Well, he didn't really have any choice in the matter. He had to approve something. Yep. But this is the very I'll just read a little bit of this and you'll realize how hard they were trying to drag their feet. Okay, the administration greenlit the project Monday. This is the Willow project. However, Biden approved a scaled back version of the plan after the Interior Department, one of our best departments, led by one of our best people, only approved 3 of the 5 drilling sites proposed by ConocoPhillips. The exclusion of the additional sites reduced the size of the 200-well project by 40%. Funny how that works out as a ratio, and eliminated the need for 11 miles of road and 20 miles of pipeline and 133 acres of gravel, which is what I generate playing Minecraft. The company also agreed to forfeit 68,000 acres of existing leases in the National Petroleum Reserve, Alaska, to reduce its footprint on the land by 1/3. So yes, they are letting them proceed with a smaller version of what they already should have been able to proceed with, but only by giving up a bunch of other stuff.
Which I think they were already willing to give up if they gave up that many things.
Yeah, the Biden administration was limited by legal restraints in reviewing the Willow Oil project. According to White House officials, said the company had valid rights on the land because of decades-old leases. Now, let that sink in. They've had these leases for decades. They're finally going to get to extract 60% of the oil. The administration was convinced the courts would have blocked an outright rejection of the Willow project and potentially imposed fines on the government, said the official, who spoke about the White House's considerations on the condition of anonymity.
And they're not wrong.
So environmentalists are pissed off.
They did what they did to avoid being adjudicated against by a court in a manner, even though it's technically not a criminal matter. It's government law. It would have treated them as though they had committed a criminal tort, basically.
Well, hey, Skep, look at this map. Short of putting the oil wells at Point Hope, is there a place in the continental United States that you could have started drilling that's further from Washington, D.C.? I mean, this is like so far away, they could just hope that nobody notices.
Yeah, that is out in the middle of absolute nowhere. It's also out in the big what is the is it caribou or elk, whatever
I think that's Caribou Land.
Caribou.
Yeah. Maybe it's it is the caribou, and it's an interesting thing where they put in the pipeline. The caribou and the elk also, and the moose, all gravitated to it, and it became like kind of a disco, kind of a bar, and where the elite meet and greet, and
reproduce.
To eat moosey treats, yes.
It was like Studio 54 by Molson.
The Trans-Alaska Pipeline.
Akbar against Moosapalooza.
Shade in summer.
Moosapalooza.
What's Studio 54?
It was a famous disco in New York City back in the 80s.
Yeah,
known for copious amounts of drugs and all sorts.
Where you can see like a 12-year-old Brooke
snow on the
Shields sitting on Andy Warhol's
year-round.
nap while Gloria Vanderbilt is like walking around with a tiny spoon.
Those aren't bubbles.
Allegedly, where is it? I need it.
Jeez, Harry, you need
Okay, I do know what Studio 54
Okay, let's just back that up with one of these. Okay, so good.
Notice that my icon is now a crackpot would say.
Okay, a crackpot would say. Excellent.
So you can use that, and I'll send you that. I put a lot of effort into that.
Thank you. But I mean, in a nutshell, I look at this thing, and the environmentalists are pissed off because they just want to drive us back to the Stone Age. But discounting them, this is not the this is not the action of the Biden administration supporting domestic oil production. Anything but.
It's them avoiding prosecution.
No, yeah. This is avoiding getting lashed by a court.
Yeah.
That's all this is.
And also in public opinion.
Well, that's a win-win actually, because we save the money.
You're right.
In the
You're
court.
right, Prospero. I know what you're going to say. Yeah.
We save the money in the court, and there is
And
an between Point Hope and the Arctic National Wildlife Reserve, there is an enormous oil field. I mean, it's just gigantic. And this has been something the government, when run by both teams for a good long while, has been ignoring. The Republicans would pay lip service to "we need to drill, baby, drill," but then they'd put a gag on Sarah Palin and stuff her in a bobbing for apples bin. No, we can't touch that, because if something were to go wrong, they'd beat us with that bully club forever. It's just it is. There's a lot of oil under the Arctic. A lot of it.
Howdy.
And the Trans-Alaska Pipeline, like Skep referenced, has been a godsend for the caribou. It was going to be their undoing, according to all the doom and gloom sayers.
Oh yeah,
the Gretas of their day.
And they were wrong.
How dare you?
Boy, they were just ridiculously wrong, because the caribou.
When they did the herd censuses and they found out the herds were flourishing, they were absolutely furious.
Oh yeah, it's like the polar bears. When the polar bears are going to die. Wait, we check the tags. And
they're hate facts, but hate facts for the earth.
The pictures were always the coolest. Whenever they would the wildlife photographers would just show just the caribou in a line up against the pipeline, just chilling.
And when they slough their fur against the pipe, it's hilarious, because in the summer they want to slough off their winter coat.
And it makes it so much easier for them.
Yeah, and they're just back scratching and humping. It really is.
We're doing them a favor.
There should be disco balls about every 50 feet.
And ironically, because of the wildlife photographers, they have people watching the pipeline. So if it does have anything go wrong, I'm sure those wildlife photographers will report it real fucking quick.
It's been heavily monitored in their trenches designed to catch the oil.
Yeah.
People are like, oh my God, there's a lake. Yes, and there is a basin already there to catch those.
We should use trains to move the oil. That would be better.
Right. Yeah, because it's trains and oil tankers. Aren't they so much safer?
So reliable. Yeah.
All you need to know is how to do a proper boom.
Well, we've got enough unemployed people. How about a bucket brigade? They won't slosh much oil out because they hand it from person to person.
I know where we can find some people who would work for pennies on the dollar.
Just please, for the love of God, both of you shut up. Somewhere some Biden aide is like, I know what we need. We need a new civilian conservation corps.
Oh, you know what they're going to call it, though? Hands Across Alaska.
Yeah.
It's funny because
Hand
if you look at
job
this,
across a landscape.
Yes, exactly.
we have a lot of the same problem,
Natural
and we
lubricant.
own a lot more of the real estate up there.
Yes, we do.
There is so much untapped potential here in Canada with, all the northern, even if you look at the map there of your part of that neck of the woods, the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge on the right there, and then just across that line is the border to Canada, where that refuge kind of extends probably about halfway to where that margin ends, and then right there, right on the edge of the wildlife refuge, is one of our only actual drilling sites up in that region.
Well,
it's hilarious.
Wasn't the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge established to shut down drilling up there?
Yes. And where did we start drilling? Right on the edge of it. Because there's just so much in that general area.
You know what the Canadians were doing? Hey, we'll just like with a straw. Only we'll put it sideways and we'll suck the oil out under the Yanks, and it'll go to Canada, and it'll be our money. And
why can't we do that with Iran? Oil. And I mean,
just a bigger straw.
We need a bigger.
That actually does happen. Israel has done that.
Yeah.
I mean, German pipeline's okay, Russian not okay, Canadian pipeline's okay, as long as they don't go through America.
God! Please. Jesus.
It's so ass bad.
Oh, it was the underwater pipeline that we probably
Nord Stream 2.
Nord Stream, thank you.
All right.
No, I thought something happened in Russia or Ukraine.
Nord Stream 2 is what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Nord Stream 2 pipeline, North Sea Boogaloo. Okay.
Yeah.
North Sea.
So
hijinks occurred.
So the next thing, I'm not entirely sure how to approach this. I think usually this is where I pretend to be naive. I'm going to just go ahead and play this. And then you tell me what you think.
The Benadu family, weeks, their son and brother, Noah, was killed. The 24-year-old singer and songwriter was standing on the sidewalk, struck in a crash caused by a drunk driver in West Hollywood. A judge has now ordered Jacob Growlithe.
The sound's really
the audio's cutting out.
Yeah.
The audio's cutting out? Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay. Basically, this I'll have to tell you what happens. Okay. So there was a $200 million judgment that was given for a family of a young musician who was killed in a DUI crash, and because this person had so much income earning potential, that's why it's $200 million. And of course, the problem with this is, I'm really sorry that this young man got killed, and DUI is a terrible thing, since it almost took me out yesterday. I can kind of relate. But at the same time, $200 million based on his potential income, in a way, it feels kind of weird for his life to be worth so much more than somebody else's life.
I can tell you, my life wasn't worth that.
Well, yeah, the question is, where does the money come from? And I don't know. I mean, usually when you get these kinds of automotive cases, people just pay whatever the maximum limit was. And I mean, you can go after the house of the person who owned it, but I don't see where they're going to get $200 million. Does it make you feel good to make up giant numbers?
Yeah. They can't go after they can't go after the house. They can't go after the vehicle. They can't go after their clothes, and they basically can't go after about a suitcase worth of stuff, your car and your house if you own it.
But retirement money you probably can go after.
It depends. Some they can, some they can't.
But it's not $200 million. That's the key
thing.
No,
exactly.
This is precedent. All this is.
Well, that's a good point.
It's setting precedent for those people that have more available assets to be tapped higher and higher and higher.
It's obviously excessive.
This also falls a little bit on California itself, because apparently he got sentenced to 4 years. The guy who killed the young man.
4 years.
Well, he got sentenced to 4 years, and he only spent 7 weeks in prison.
I was going to say how many?
Yeah, before he was sent to a rehab center. That's the reason why the family. I don't agree with the 200 million bullshit. That's ridiculous. But he didn't even spend a third in corrections. for what he did.
Does anybody want to point out that it's vaguely sordid that members of his family thought they were going to capitalize on his talent?
Oh, I mean, that's the reason why
No.
parents let their kids go into pop music and acting is
That's-
because they want to get the money.
That's a tort lawyer who that is a tort lawyer who has manufactured that verbiage and that rationale because that's what they're trained to do.
I know, but it used to be heirs, as in
Children.
spouse and minor children who
Mostly dependents.
dependents who sat as beneficiaries on life insurance policies and such that would benefit from something like this. But when you have parents suing for potential earnings of their children, or a sister or a brother or a cousin fucking whatever, this is rapacious greed of tort lawyers.
Yeah.
Personal injury.
That's what's behind this.
The Trial Lawyers Association is behind this. The disgusting, profiteering cunts. Because what these poor people don't understand is if they get $50K out of this stone that they're trying to get blood from,
$20K is going to go to their lawyer.
$20K is going to go to the lawyer. And
they may have to pay fees on top of that, out of their piece. And it's possible there have been settlements where you get nothing but a bill. Yeah. Exactly.
It was probably on contingency. Typically in California, something like this would be about 33%. And Skep's absolutely right that 33% won't include all of the expenses.
Nope. They'll get a bill from this trial lawyer. So you bit on a promise from some shithead who told you they could get you a big payout. There isn't going to be that kind of money from the putz that ran this guy over. He's a loser.
What is his situation? Tell me it's Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah.
Well, no, the thing is, the guy who ran him over is a staffer for David Spade's new Comedy Central show.
Oh, really?
Staffer.
He's still
He
alive.
will not be overpaid. He will not be overpaid.
But a staffer is not
a staffer is like.
Well, I know it's just, but this guy has an IMDb page. That was
so
the thing.
So do I.
I know, but it gave me the ability to look other things up. I was getting to a point.
I know. I think that's not something I get to say very often.
Me neither. It felt really good. Thank you.
Do you think he has $200 million, Serenity?
Well, I'm trying to see if he's because
I don't have an IMDb.
The producers
have
have
$200 million if he's
just hang in there, functional. You'll get one eventually.
Hey, I of all of us, I'm the one who's actually been in Hollywood movies and TV shows, and I made that.
Hey, I was sound engineer
but I did that
on a movie
intentionally because again, I like to keep my online profile as minute as
separate
possible
from
because my online persona is completely different from me as the person living in meat space.
Except that you've got that AI picture of yourself
I know
now,
both of him,
which is good.
This happened back in
put that
2019.
facial recognition in.
Mm-hmm.
So this has been going on for 4 years.
Well,
that's not that part's not unusual. These things take this kind of a civil suit totally can take that long.
And don't forget the pandemic shut down the docket, basically, Serenity.
Yeah, because apparently the family of the young gentleman who's apparently been trying to be a pop star since he was 7. Which, honey, if you made it to 24 and you're not a pop star, you were never going to make it. We're also trying to file a wrongful death suit against Comedy Central and Free 90
Say
Media.
what?
Yeah.
How did Comedy Central cause a wrongful death?
Because the guy worked for them.
Yeah, he's the accountant for one of the
marketing.
Oh, I know. It's just these people were literally looking for anything.
Yeah,
I'm sorry your son died, but cut it out.
I just can't take people's ignorance and their stupidity and their selfish and their entitlement and their give me, I want, give me. My brother died, boo-hoo. I don't even remember his name, but give me all your money.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. There's something much less rage-inducing. We've already hit the 2-hour mark. I'm just going to talk about something good.
God.
Can we just do that? Just as a palate cleanser. Let's talk about something good that's not in any way pervy or anything. So don't feel like people have to leave. Okay.
Good.
Okay, so this is a thing that Skep brought to my attention not too long ago. This is a company called Hermes. And what they are doing for supersonic travel is very similar to what that other company was doing for fusion power. Building slightly bigger, slightly more robust things in sort of an iterative development process. What they're working on right now is their quarter scale model aircraft, which travels at Mach 5.
What?
Mach 5. The ultimate goal of this thing is to actually carry people.
Yeah.
That's almost twice the speed of the SR-71 Blackbird.
Yep.
Yeah.
Twice.
So there's a bunch of
brain around that.
Well, there's a bunch of stuff in jet engine design
Isn't that pretty?
It's kind of hard to get away from some of the facts. Okay, physics is a bitch. It doesn't particularly care about our wants and needs. But the traditional airplanes that you would fly in if you got on a plane to go somewhere right now, those commercial airplanes, those are turbofan engines. Okay, it's basically a turbine driving a giant propeller that's inside a shroud. Because of the velocity of this thing, it's extremely efficient. In fact, this big fan, about 12 times as much air gets pushed around the combustion chamber as the combustion that essentially turns things. So that's called the bypass ratio. So you have this big ass fan. Most of the air never goes in the combustion chamber. You cannot go supersonic with a turbofan, but it's very, very efficient. Now, fighter jets and things like that, are supersonic planes, or F-22, that kind of thing. Those use a turbojet. And all of it doesn't have a big-ass fan. It can go a lot faster. It creates a lot more pressure, uses a lot more fuel, but it actually passes everything.
Variable geometry intakes, things
well,
like that.
It passes everything through the combustion chamber. Yep. Okay, and I'm using a huge paintbrush here.
Yes.
What this engine does that they're working on
Tell us about
is actually a really cool little bit of technology. Let me scroll down here.
Get to the ramjet.
What's amazing is that they're not inventing new technology. They're using already established technology to make it better.
Better mousetrap.
Well, that's because in some ways there's nothing new. What this engine what this engine does is it does something, it uses what's called a ramjet. Now, a ramjet is something that works really well above Mach 3. Trouble is you can't actually use a ramjet to take off typically. So the supersonic missiles that we were talking about, the hypersonic missiles.
Day.
Well, the hypersonic missiles that we were referring to in a previous show, that there's this arms race going on in hypersonic cruise missiles. They start off with a rocket propelling them. The rocket gets it up to speed, and then once it's got enough speed, once it gets above Mach 3, it has enough air coming in the front intake that it bypasses all of that stuff that happens in a normal turbojet engine. Air just goes into the combustion chamber, again, big paintbrush, and a lot of air comes out the back. So what they've done is they've essentially merged a turbojet and a ramjet together into a single engine. So this thing can take off in turbojet mode and then switch to ramjet mode once the thing's underway.
Going fast enough.
Okay, so it's like torque and horsepower, but in an
So part turbojet, part ramjet. And with a plane like this, you can take off from the ground. You could then get up to altitude and then go up to Mach 3, then switch to the ramjet and, profit. That's the dream, basically.
May I take one moment to invite Skep to visit the 1960s again?
Oh, yeah.
Roger Ramjet.
He's our man, hero of our nation. For his adventures, just be sure to
stay tuned to this station.
So
Roger
I assume that
he's our man. I haven't thought about that in a minute.
He was like the right at space.
Yes.
So there's this video. They basically have tested the thing, and it's not just hypothetical. So in this particular test rig, they've actually gone from turbojet mode to ramjet mode. Now, the goal is now to put this in the quarter scale aircraft. And then once that works, then they will build up to a half scale aircraft before they build to a full scale aircraft. And we'll be looking at new milestones periodically.
Did they say how many they think it's going to be able to carry? Are they? I'm assuming they're not going to try to get up to Concorde size.
I need 40.
I don't think they're working on the passenger payload piece at all yet.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not there yet.
They're proving principles right now.
But in the full size one, they could do it. I'm not entirely convinced this thing will ever get built because the economics of it, if all we care about is carbon molecules, turbofans are incredibly efficient.
But it's good info though to get out there.
I think it'll be very unlikely that they will produce a economically viable, faster way of travel, or even economic in any sense. But the information that's being produced by this project is absolute fucking gold.
And I hope they do produce something viable.
I do too. You and me both.
And if
okay,
not,
so here's
used by someone else.
Flying cars.
Okay, so here's the diagram. I forgot this was in the video. So as you can see right here, let me just embiggen this to make it full screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so what you can see is the front part is the turbojet, right? And once you reach enough speed that there's enough air coming in the intake, you essentially bypass the turbojet completely, and then all of the air flows into the combustion chamber of the ramjet.
And in the combustion chamber of the ramjet, air and fuel also go in there with this super fast air that's being driven by the shockwave, and the result is a party out the backside.
Yeah, and
super fast, super efficient.
I mean, in a lot of ways, it gets much simpler as the air intake velocity goes up to a point where essentially there's things you have to do with the input air going into the ramjet to make it not be too fast. And you have to go to this thing called a scramjet, which is a ramjet with a supersonic combustion chamber to go above Mach 13. But baby steps.
If this gets us to Mach 10, I'm going to be so happy.
Even if it gets us to Mach 5, I'm going to be happy.
Is their goal.
Okay, Serenity, question.
I have a stupid question. I'm sure I'm misinterpreting something. Is it this? So they get further with this technology. Is this possibility that they could use this to be even more efficient with getting us out of Earth's atmosphere to space?
No, you still need atmosphere.
No,
well, I know, but like getting us to
she means to get us out.
As a launch. Okay, yeah.
No,
this
even
is
then,
not.
no.
This is not great technology for that application. So
Okay.
This is purely terrestrial in the atmosphere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. There was a plane. There was a project that does exactly what I think you want it to do, Serenity, but it's a whole different topic, and I should probably bring it up later and just do like a proper story on it, because I will commit to that, because there's actually
bizarre ramjet.
No, there's a different technology that does what Serenity wants to do.
Get into that.
But we don't need to get into that right now.
More efficient things, and I was like, well, could it be a more efficient way to get us out of the atmosphere?
No, it's not going to get us out of the atmosphere.
Switch us to a new thing,
but it would get us from from point A to point B on this planet, making it smaller a lot more quickly.
In no time. Yeah.
Because I mean, think about what it would mean to the world if somebody in Europe could get to Japan in a very short amount of time. I think that's actually. Yeah, I think that's actually worth it. I mean, not for tourism necessarily.
6,000 miles an hour is 4 hours around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'd love it for Boston to England.
That would be like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
That'd be perfect.
Like Harry said at the beginning, like the modern commercial industry, their engine designs are based on efficiency because they want to make it commercially a viable principle. Yeah. This is all about pure power, pure pushing the limits of what the current technology.
Yeah, but ramjets are efficient. It's just.
I could spend 4 hours orbiting the Earth at 50,000 feet in a ramjet. Couldn't you, Harry?
I'd have to wear. The thing is, you'd have to start wearing a radiation dosimeter at a certain point.
Yeah, that's exactly the point.
This is kind of like to put it in like terms I understand. This is kind of like comparing a drag racing engine to a minivan. When you compare it to like what we have now with planes,
It's like a top fuel dragster to a
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
This way.
Where boom, you're riding a rocket.
Yeah. They're riding pure power as opposed to something that'll get you from A to B 10,000 times.
This is the kind of thing that would make Chuck Yeager go, yes, please.
Okay, so hold on. Assassin actually brought up the X-15, which was a rocket plane.
Yeah.
And the engineering of the X-15 is absolutely bonkers. Okay,
Yes,
the stuff that they did to the X-15, because the way they keep the nozzle from the rocket from essentially just melting from the heat of all this exhaust coming out of it is they actually take the fuel that's running into the engine and run it through capillaries in the nozzle. So the fuel is actually acting as a coolant. So there's this extremely delicate dance between the oxidizer, the fuel, and the way the nozzle's set up that you have to get right. Otherwise you Steve Austin and it's not good. So and we don't have bionics yet. So the X-15, some of the stuff that they did to make that thing work is absolutely amazing. That is one of the best examples of like how, you don't have computers, that doesn't matter. We'll just make shit work. We'll just whip out our slide rule on our primitive computers and just come up with amazing engineering. And when people talk about, there's people who are actually concerned that we as a species are getting dumber. And I like to think that that's just like the hubris of older people thinking that, because it's always tendency. But I think we might actually be getting dumber, because I look back at some of those old engineers, and as good as some of the current ones are, I think, man, these guys really knew their shit.
I do not see people in my father's class of engineering, and my dad's an engineer's engineer. He was, the dean of the School of Engineering of Auburn University, and, head of research and technology at LTV. Yeah, he had a scientific advisory board, worked for Edward Teller, distinguished engineering career. When he got the offer, I'll tell a quick personal anecdote. When he got the offer to teach at Auburn, they said, "You are a professional engineer, aren't you?" He said, "No, I've never taken the examination." And he said, "Oh, you've got to be a PE to do this." And he says, "No problem, I'll take the exam." Well, no, we'll offer it to you in a couple of years so you can take the exam. My dad said, "No, I'll just go take the exam. It's like showing up to take the bar, except it's longer." And he passed it. He just passed it.
As one does.
Yes, he was about your age, Harry.
That's nice. Yep. But
he just took it.
Man, there's so much cool stuff going on. I completely botched the schedule. We're way over time, and I've got other stuff that you're going to love. In fact, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the story that I was going to do. I'm going to give it to you, Skep, for Tuesday, and you can do it if you want. It's pretty cool. And there's an African connection, which you can actually handle better than I can.
I will look forward to it. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and pack things in. Anybody have any final thoughts?
Bye.
Phrasing.
Night.
Yeah.
Auckland, not Oakland.
They're
Exactly.
not making engineers like they used to. That's the truth.
And
No,
nobody
they're not.
actually wants, honestly, we actually do care about the world. We'd rather that people were getting smarter, not dumber. We don't want this to be the case. Because, what kind of a horrible person would you have to be that your ego is so fragile that you need everybody coming after you to be dumber? That's not what anybody wants.
That's what every parent wants, is for the kids
to never reach to always be less than them, so that they're not challenged by their kids. That's terrible.
It is so important to bash them down and make sure they feel worthless.
Know your place, Sonny. Anyway, this has been your Minions of the Zoo for Saturday.
Marr!
Thank you, panel. Thank you, chat. The zoo's closed. Good night.
Good night,
Good
everybody.
night.
Bye.
Bye.
And remember,
Bye.
I will eat your ass.